Like most fiendish things, Darkest Dungeon appears much simpler and more benign than it is. Once you've explored a few of these randomized dungeons and almost certainly seen several of your fragile characters brutally killed, it's revealed as an intimidatingly deep, tense, and intentionally opaque tactical game that's dripping with character.
And now the true test. Hold fast, or expire.
Merciless randomness always keeps me off balance, struggling to stay alive. Even the turn order is mixed up by behind-the-scenes dice rolls. By robbing you of the certainty and predictability you usually see in turn-based tactics games, Darkest Dungeon creates tense and terrifying battles where you're never sure what'll happen next. And like in poker, knowing when to fold a bad hand and retreat is as important as knowing how to play a good one. It's impressive how many different factors you have to consider when putting together a team for a dungeon run, because there are 14 distinct classes, and each individual character has their own strengths and weaknesses, and each of their abilities only work from certain positions in your lineup, and each of the 5 dungeons has its own enemy types. It can get overwhelming. There are 100 things that could go wrong, from not having enough range damage, to running out of torches, which gives the monsters a bonus, to your characters getting stressed out and dying of an actual heart attack. A lesser game might collapse under the weight of so many detailed moving parts, but Darkest Dungeon ties it all together surprisingly well. Even so, in the later missions I found I spent at least as long planning a run as playing it, which is a little much. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat are intensified by outstanding narration.
The bigger the beast, the greater the glory.
This guy gives you bits of the loose, Lovecraftian lore more as flavor than a meaningful plot, and it's all fantastically grim and full of gravitas.
My licentious impulse gave way to a genuine professional respect, and together, we began to plant, harvest, and brew.
Battles are great to watch, too. Using just a few frames of animation and some parallax movement, Darkest Dungeon conveys action and excitement, and the monster designs are varied and creative, especially the grotesque bosses. The march toward the final dungeon does become an artificially protracted grind, because you have to individually level up a large group of heroes to complete it. That feels like an arbitrary inconvenience. But on the other hand, a grind is only a bad thing when the act of playing becomes predictable and repetitive, and Darkest Dungeon never does. For more on Darkest Dungeon, stick with IGN.
Did he foresee his own demise? I care not, so long as he remains dead.